So we got a new sofa, and that was that. And all of a sudden, that's when things kind of took a turn, paranormal wise, within the house. I screamed. We both screamed. Ran straight to the parents' room. Obviously, my dad got up, and he saw this figure of a man. And all of a sudden, so obviously first instincts, first thoughts is somebody broke into the home. All I do know is that this figure were very, very tall at the time, and a waistcoat. You could tell it was a man. Like you could see that it was a man.
Yeah.
He had no facial features. That's where we are with that story.
Yeah.
They moved into this home, and this is the weird part about it. It's almost as if this figure was trying to warn us.
Okay.
It was trying to kick us out of the home.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Spooky Island Encounters. And like you might have seen from the intro, this week we've got a story from my friend Leighton over at the Crime and Paranormal YouTube channel, page, podcast sort of thing. Well, more of a YouTube channel. But obviously, a lot of us, including myself, have certain experiences that set us on the path, the paranormal path, you might say. And Leighton was no different. So before we get into the video, please like and subscribe. There's more stories like this coming down the pipeline. Some really scary ones just like this as well. All right, so yeah, stay notified so you don't miss any. And yeah, we're going to get straight into Leighton's story today. So Leighton's story begins when he was just 6 years old, at an age where the line between imagination and reality can really start to get blurred, but where fear itself also feels completely real. One night he's asleep in his bedroom and everything in the house is exactly as it should be. Quiet, still and undisturbed. But in the middle of the night he's suddenly awoken. Not by a noise, not by a dream, but by his older sister running to him in his room. She's shaken, she's frightened, and she's telling him that he needs to wake up right now. And at first it doesn't make sense. It's the middle of the night and nothing should be happening. But there's something in the way that she's speaking, and something urgent that makes it clear that something isn't right. Now, as Leighton properly wakes up, he begins to realise that his sister isn't just scared, she's seen something, and something is inside the house.
My first experience was, I want to say, when I was about 6 or 7 years old. I think I was right. 5, 6, 7, between one of the three. And we lived in a house, obviously, in Burnley. There was nothing out of the ordinary with the house in itself.
Mm-hmm.
But it was. We got a new sofa, right? So obviously, new house, new furniture. So we got a new sofa, and that was that. And all of a sudden, that's when things kind of took a turn. Paranormal wise within the house. So one evening my sister woke up screaming. Bear in mind, she's 2 years older than me, so why I'm still baffled to this day as to why she come running into my room. I'm thinking I'm going to do something at the age of 6 years old. She was like, there's a man here, there's a man in the house. I'm like, bear in mind, yes, I'm 6 years old, I'm not going to go and try and tackle the man. I screamed. We both screamed, ran straight to the parents' room. Obviously, my dad got up, and he saw this figure of a man. And all of a sudden, so obviously first instincts, first thoughts is somebody broke into the home. He absolutely pelts it down the stairs tries to catch this thing, and then poof, disappears in thin air. Nothing, just disappears into thin air.
And after that initial experience, things didn't just stop. In fact, they seemed to get worse. What started as a single unsettling moment quickly became something far more consistent. Leighton and his sister both began to experience the same presence again and again, the same figure and the same feeling of being watched. But what makes the story even more unusual is what was happening elsewhere in the house. Because Leighton's mother wasn't unfamiliar with the paranormal, shall we say. In fact, she was a medium. Someone who, by her own experiences, was used to sensing things that others couldn't, picking up on presences or noticing when something wasn't quite right, which raises a strange question. Why would something make itself known to everybody else in the house, but remain completely hidden from the one person you might expect to notice it?
It got worse over time, and I say worse. So this figure kept appearing and appearing and appearing and appearing. Bear in mind, my mum is a medium. Not like she doesn't put it out there, but she's a medium, and she grew up doing Ouija boards and stuff like that. So she automatically thought it could have been something to do with her past, but she couldn't see this figure. It was only me, my dad, and my sister that could see this figure. And what had happened is every morning I'd wake up to this figure standing over me, over the bed. It must have been about 6'5", 6'6". It could even potentially even 7 foot tall.
God.
I used to wake up in the middle of the night for it just to see this figure standing over my bed at 6 years old. Even go to the extent he used to follow me around the home. He used to follow me everywhere.
Did it have a form? Like you could tell it was it humanoid? Did it have any like distinguishing features?
Well, this is the thing. This is what still baffles me to this day. The only thing I can remember about this figure is that he had some sort of long waistcoat.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell if it was, if it had any like human features. It was just a black figure, so I couldn't see much at all. So he used to follow me everywhere. He even went to the extent to follow me to the bathroom, which is strange.
That's nice of him, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's keeping me company,
As the experiences inside the house continued, there was still no clear explanation. Nothing could fully account for what Leighton and his sister and father were seeing, and for a while it remained something that contained within the family. Until one night, a friend of Leighton's mum stayed the night in the family home, someone with no prior knowledge of what had been happening in the house, no expectations and no reason to imagine anything unusual. She spent the night in the conservatory, a space slightly removed from the rest of the house. Quiet, dark, and as it turned out, not quite as empty as it should have been.
Then one evening, my mum's friend came to stay over, and in this home we had a conservatory. Okay, and we had like a bed and everything set up for her in this conservatory.
Yeah.
I think the time were 2:30, between 2:30 and 3 a.m. She ran out of the house screaming to never come back. She would never come back to this home again because she had seen this figure. This figure had like come to the door of the conservatory, and obviously she's locked in. She can't go anywhere. And it's just disappeared into thin air.
I mean, I find it so strange that your mum is the psychic medium, and yet it was almost shielding itself from her, so that she couldn't see it.
Yes, which is so strange. That's the thing that even she doesn't get to this day. She could never see this figure. As you said, it's almost as if this figure was shielding itself off from her.
Yeah,
which is so weird. So our friend went. She was like Sonic, mate. She absolutely straight out the house.
that's a reference from Blast from the Past, like Sonic out the door.
After that, you say about fast. My God, you should have seen the way she ran. Yeah. And even after she said she would never come back to home, she never returned back to that house.
As the experiences continued, it eventually became too much. What had started as something unsettling, something unexplained, had now grown into something the family could no longer live with. And so, they made the decision to leave. They moved out of the house, leaving whatever it was behind. Not long after, the property was sold, and perhaps unusually, it was sold not to strangers, but to a family friend. At that point, you might expect the story to end. A new family moves in, and whatever had been experienced there simply fades into the past. But this isn't what had happened. Because after moving into the house, it didn't take long before the new owner began to notice something wasn't quite right. The same feeling, the same presence, and eventually the same figure. However, they only saw it once, and this chance encounter could have helped save many homes and lives.
So the figure kept popping up all the time, and it got to a point where it got too much. So we actually put the house up for sale.
God.
We moved out because of this figure. But we sold it to some friends, and they moved into this home. And this is the weird part about it. It's almost as if this figure was trying to warn us.
Okay.
It was trying to kick us out of the home. Because after the new owners had moved in, basically, they saw this figure too.
Okay.
But it was standing outside the gas. Do you know where the gas and electric is and stuff like that? It was standing there, right? And basically, nobody knew, none of we knew. There was a huge gas leak in the home, which could have set the street could have been on fire. So
Insane.
What that says to me is, was it a spirit that has come in and potentially was it attached to the furniture of the home, or was it actually a spirit or a spirit guide that we didn't know about, and it's just showed itself to kind of say, look, you need to leave this home, it's about to set on fire. They saw it I think one time at the gas and electric box.
Got ya.
And then so they automatically they did the right thing on checking the gas and electric.
Yeah.
Gas leak. So that's what, if it didn't get sorted, the guy said, the electrician said, if it didn't get sorted within the next 2 to 3 hours, that the whole street would have been up in flames.
It's crazy. It's almost like it's like you say, maybe something was trying to coerce you guys or try and show it to you, or like you say, try and get you out the house.
This brings this part of Leighton's story to an end, and before getting into his other experiences, he reflects on what he thought it was that was in that house.
I'm not sure whether the spirit had come with the furniture, because the activity only started once the furniture had come in.
Okay.
And if I remember rightly, actually, we took that furniture with us to another home. And I believe that there was some paranormal activity going on then.
Okay.
I can't remember. I was still quite young.
Yeah.
I can't remember too much about that, but I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I don't know whether it's come from the furniture, whether it's just been, or whether it were somebody's spirit guide and they've come forward and shown themselves just to clear the home. It's a weird one. It definitely is a weird one. It's one where I can't pinpoint exactly what's happened or what this figure were.
Yeah.
All I do know is that this figure were very, very tall at the time, and a waistcoat. You could tell it was a man. You could see that it was a man.
Yeah.
He had no facial features. That's where we are with that story.
Yeah.
Now, years pass, life moves on, and for a while, what happened in the house becomes something that sits in the background. Not forgotten, but not fully understood either. Now, that is until Leighton's 16th birthday, so fast forward to a normal day, by all accounts. Family gathered, families, friends around. Nothing out of the ordinary. But among this group was a family friend who wanted to sit down and talk to Leighton about something which would set him on the paranormal path that he is on to this very day.
This is how the paranormal whole thing spiked. My paranormal interest spiked. So, 16th party, Mum says to me, "Oh, Lena, I've got one of my friends coming round." And this is where she said, "Yeah, she's a medium." I go, "All right." Again, so obviously after experiencing what I experienced before, I kind of lost it, and I didn't believe. I still wasn't believing in still anything like that. So I was like, "All right, okay." I said, "That's fine." I said, "Who is she?" I bet I've never met her before. I said, "Oh, yeah, she's called Sharon." Absolutely, she's a lovely lady. Sharon is amazing. So, and a little bit older. So this Sharon, she comes through the door, and it took let's say 15 minutes before I got shouted downstairs. So I introduced myself to Sharon, and she goes, "Leighton, please can we have a chat?" I said, "Yes, of course we can." We go and sit at the table. She goes, "Leighton, you've got 20 to 21 spirits I want to communicate with you." Bear in mind, I didn't believe, so I was like, "Have you had 21 spirits before coming into my house?"
Yeah.
Stuff that she used to do with mediumship and how she taught my mum how to do what she does now. And I found it quite interesting. I mean, it was, but again, it just wasn't spiking my interest at all. Until she brings up, she goes, "Leighton, the spirit's just come forward." And it's a little boy. Long story short, my parents had a miscarriage when they were before. It would have been after I was born, so I would have been a big brother. And I didn't know. My parents had said nothing to this Sharon about the miscarriage. But it was a hell of a long time ago. And she goes, "It's a little boy. It's your brother." I go, "Brother? Brother? What do you mean, brother?" I said, "I don't have a brother." And my parents say, "So that's so strange that we had a miscarriage." They found out the gender just before it happened. And so obviously that's a hell of a lot to take in straight away. So I said, "Look, please can we just take a break?" I said, "Hang on, please give me a minute to process this," because not with that.
Most people just bring cake or a present to a birthday
Yeah.
party.
Usually get a present, or a cake. Like, not someone tell me about my brother I could have had.
Yeah.
But then this is where the experience got even wilder. Obviously, at the time, my headspace were a little bit like, whoa, you know what I mean? So people could say, what I'm about to tell you is like, it could have been your mind playing tricks on you, and it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
In my left ear, as soon as I asked for a break,
Mm-hmm.
everybody was outside. I'm just sat at the table. I'm like, okay, let me just take a second. My left ear, little boy's voice tells me that he loves me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bless.
So, I mean, that got me. That set me off. Absolutely scratching my eyes out. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to think. What the hell's just happened? That's when we closed all the spiritual stuff down. Like, we didn't speak about that for the rest of the night.
Now, I don't usually do this sort of thing with these Spooky Island Encounter episodes, but I feel like it's quite integral to the story. So all of that Leighton's experienced has led him onto this path now, where he creates his own YouTube channel called Crime and Paranormal. So obviously they'll be linked in the show notes, so you can go give them a follow. And yeah, I asked him, what was, in all of your years of investigating, what's the one place that you think you've really caught something? And I think Leighton is like a really credible witness. Like, you know, he's still young, but like he's got a really good head on his shoulders, you know, like he's very down to earth and very always wants to try and find the rational explanation before jumping to conclusions. So yeah, really genuine guy, and yeah, go give him a follow on all of his socials and stuff like that. But he talks us through his haunting experience at some sort of chapel. And yeah, I think, like I say, let's listen to Leighton first, and I'll see you back for the end.
So we set up this night vision in the chapel, and as I said, not much was going on. Put on the spirit box, and we've got a team member called Paul. The spirit box kept calling his name. So but at this point, he was over by the altar where the loud bang were. And then Joanne, one of my other team members, she takes a lot of random photos on her phone. She took a random photo, again, over by the altar. Clear as day, black 7-foot figure, just standing over us, right? Bear in mind, this is where all the activity is over towards the altar. Paul stood, the altar's here, Paul's there, under like a lampshade. The spirit box calls his name. So saying, Paul, he keeps saying your name, mate, come over here. So he comes over towards us. We're towards the back end of the chapel. As soon as he moves, the light, boom, comes down. Physically rocking, swinging, smashed midair.
From where he was
smashed midair. From literally where he was stood. The whole light come down. The bulb was still intact. It's the shade around it. Almost as if it'd been punched with some force.
God.
Swinging. That can't be caused by nothing.
No.
There's no physical explanation for that. You know, it took me about 4 months to put the video out because I was sat there every day, like, thinking, what on earth was that?
Yeah.
Because to put that out there, as you'll know, people are going to think that's fake. We packed up as fast as we could, and we absolutely legged it.
Yeah.
We legged it back out there. The owners were that scared, then they are no longer doing investigations.
Really?
They stopped them. Yeah.
Wow.
They got it. It was literally. But we went back. They have said that the only team to come back and do it would be us if they did it. But they've said they've stopped all mediumship nights. Said they don't want nothing to do with the paranormal because of what happened.
So, what did Leighton see in his house? What was that figure? Was it trying to warn him and his family out? Was it trying to scare them out of the house? What was it? It's certainly unexplained, isn't it? And the fact that it just disappeared and multiple people through the years seen it, and to the point where it could have saved all of these lives, it's just insane. Is that more of a guardian angel sort of thing, or a spirit guide, you know? But yeah, incredible story. And then obviously that revelation from Sharon at his 16th birthday is just, it really gives you shivers just thinking about it, because you do hear stories. I've heard countless stories from people about people who've had miscarriages or people who have lost a baby in utero, and somehow that soul, that spirit still grows and follows people. It's definitely a thought to think on. It's definitely heavy. And yeah, so there might be, well, fingers crossed, should be a collab coming with me and Leighton and his team Crime and Paranormal at some point this year, so keep an eye open for that. Again, like and subscribe. But what did you think of this story, and what do you think was in Leighton's house, and has Leighton been followed by 21 spirits? Let me know in the comments below. And yeah, next episode of Spooky Island Encounters, oh, it's a good one. It's going to be a two-parter. So I recently got in touch with a gentleman called Chris from America, who had a documentary made about him and his experiences called True Haunting on Netflix. And he agreed to come on the channel. He came on, told me his story, and because there's just so much of it, I'm going to split it into two episodes of Spooky Island Encounters, 1 week after the other. So come back for that, and here is a little teaser for you. And until next time, remember that the island is always watching.
I looked out the window, and I saw this man. He looked so angry. I mean, angry. He was hunched over, making a grimacing face, dressed as though he had escaped from some kind of prison or something like that. In about 10, 11 days, I began to hear my voice, my name being called, whispered in my dorm room. And at first, I assumed it was a prank. It was a joke. The door's open. Come on in. Kept tapping. Just, hello, come open the door. And so I ran to the door, opened the door. Nobody was there. And so I got headphones. I put the headphones on. I heard it talking to me, saying my name in the headphones, which is impossible. Lorraine Warren said, I won't shake your hand. And she said, this is not in the show, I don't want to know my future. I said, what? Ed put his hands on me and then gently tossed me off the stage. When you meet someone who's notable in any field, you want to at least shake their hand and say hello. When you're tossed away like that, it kind of makes you question yourself, like, is there something wrong with me?